Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're with me, Mike Spiderslayer, getting ready to do another countdown. That's right, guys. Not exactly sure of the episode number. I think it's 64, but don't hold me to it. This is the show where Mike Spiderslayer counts down his least favorite book of the week all the way back down to number one comic book of the week. And this week, fans, we have a total of 13 comics altogether, 12 physical copies, one digital copy. And I want to give a shout out to Nick Lenz out there who suggested this week's thumbnail pick for this video. And his favorite female hero that he wanted to use was Captain Marvel. So, Nick, thank you for suggesting that pick. If you have a favorite hero or heroine that you want to use for the countdown and a shout out, just leave me your comments below. So with that being said, fans, let's get started with this week's countdown, and let's start with saddle number 13. And number 13 was Original Sins, issue number 1 of 5. Now the Original Sin main story has been phenomenal, so I'm like, let's try this tie-in series and see what it's all about. This was definitely not what I was expecting. First of all, I wasn't expecting separate stories here. Second of all, I wasn't expecting the Young Avengers to be in it. Third of all, I wasn't expecting to see Lockjaw in it. And third of all, I wasn't expecting Deathlock to be a glorified preview here. So there's nothing cohesive about this book. It was just three different stories, and it was not exactly exciting. The only thing that I got out of it that I really enjoyed about it was the Deathlock story. And just as I expected, Deathlock is going to be just pretty much just like from the Shield TV series. He looks very similar, and he's more modernized now, and I'm pretty much sure that that's why they did it this way. Plus, they're making the comic because of the popularity of the TV show. But besides the Shield story, this book was just very weak. The Young Avengers story, I just felt was not acceptable. It's not needed. You don't need to read this in any way, shape, or form to understand what's going on in Original Sin. And let's just say this last story with Lockjaw was just, I'm speechless. There's nothing to say here. This was a waste of time for me. Again, all I could have read was a preview of Deathlock on a separate book, and I would have saved myself $3.99. So after reading that book, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. Number 12 this week is Batman Eternal issue number 10. Batman Eternal is just so weak right now. There may have been a couple elements that were okay in this issue, but nothing here that really just said, oh yeah, I'm so excited. This was such a horrible issue, I thought, in so many levels. Even the cover is different pictures from different comics that happen in the inside. I'm pretty sure that this picture right here of Catwoman was pasted on this cover from the last issue, if you go back and check that out. Picture here of Batman, same thing. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And yeah, I was not happy about this particular issue. Once again, we're all reminded of Mr. Falcone's issues with Catwoman and the scratches on his face. This is driving me crazy in this series. I cannot stand it anymore. How many times are we going to get reminded of this happening to Mr. Falcone? Get over it. Do your revenge against Catwoman. Move on with your life. He touches his face again here. He touches his face again here. It's like, get over it. He has a chance at ending Catwoman's life, and he kind of messes around with her, and then we get the invasion by Pig. And Pig brings his little animal army and tries to do a dissection on Mr. Falcone. But of course, Batman sits there and interferes and stops everything that happens. And yeah, they wind up escaping. Falcone winds up getting away for now. And there wasn't really much to this story. We get to see Jason Todd in this issue. And look at this artwork. What is this artwork is absolutely, I'm sorry. This, no disrespect, but this artwork was very, this was a rough drawn issue. Um, Julia Pennyworth, like, what's with the bags under her eyes? What's with the, I mean, she looks like she's wearing like eyeliner from hell. It's just horrible. Bruce Wayne just looked so rough. Clue Master has this bad dialogue in this issue where, he has his men shoot up his daughter, Stephanie Brown. They make a comment about his daughter, and he sits there and says, "Hey, don't forget that's still my daughter." So ridiculous. Like, you're going to defend your daughter because she said something rude about her, but yet you wanted her shot and killed? Come on. This made no sense whatsoever. You see Stephanie Brown taking shelter in a library. Yeah, and besides that, there wasn't anything really worthwhile reading here. Again, the police interfere with Professor Pig and Falcone's, whole dissection. Same with Batman. They wind up going their own ways, and that's how that particular ends. This was just all around. It was a mess, and I didn't like this particular issue. If it wasn't for Original Sins, this would be on the shit list for the week. This gets the same score, 2 out of 5. All right, moving on. We go on to number 11, and number 11 is All New X-Men issue number 28. I don't know what it is about this new Brotherhood. I just don't like how they're bringing back these characters again. I think I said this last time around. I don't like how they're bringing them back. I don't like Professor Xavier's son. I don't like, anything about this particular series right now at all with this storyline. I just find it disinteresting. I just feel like they're redoing things again. The artwork is solid here. I'm not going to, knock the art in any way, shape, or form. It's great looking art, great 2-page spread. But overall, I just find the story just boring. And while I was reading it, I was nodding off during it. It was really just not engaging to me because I'm not turned off from Battle of the Atom that I didn't care about these characters again now that they're making their particular return in this series. And all as I can say is that I just find it boring, and I kind of can't wait until this is over. I'm waiting for issue number 30, I think, and that's when Miles Morales makes his return, or issue 31. He makes his series here, or Ultimate Spider-Man, or whatever you want to call it. But this was okay for me, I guess. This was like a 3 out of 5. All right, so moving forward, we're going to go on to top 10, and number 10 was Future's End issue number 6. Now, this may not have been the best story in the world, but I found this for the first time in a while that Future's End had a story that was more than 2 pages long. It actually focused on something that was going on for more than 2 pages instead of jumping from character to character to character to character. Now, it does do that here. However, the main focal point of the story is Frankenstein and the crew are going through the Phantom Zone to try to find out what happened to Stormwatch. That was the main part of this particular issue. And then you see other things that were surrounding it. Coil trying to break into Terrifitech, trying to steal that U-Sphere technology. We get to see Mr. Terrific trying to make a connection between Batman Beyond and Terry McGinnis, seeing what what he's doing here and how he's trying to get into Terrifitech as well. We get to see how there is a thing between this is plastic, and this is the remains of her from the future when she becomes part of the Brother Eye virus. So I thought that was kind of interesting element in there too. And then you get to see, the whole story with Frankenstein and Amethyst and Father Time go into the Phantom Zone to get to the Stormwatch carrier. So even though it was like, okay, kind of a little cheesy, at least there was a continuing story there. and then when more went on for more pages, you see them go through the Phantom Zone. I thought the artwork was consistent in this particular issue, and you get to see them battle against parademon creatures and other creatures. And by the time you get to the end of it, you notice that they come across Black Adam. So Black Adam is sent into the Phantom Zone for certain crimes. And then by the time you get to the end of the issue, we see Lois Lane stalking Red Robin, and and trying to inspect his death. And Madison's sitting there going, "Oh, are you really Red Robin?" Blah blah blah. And of course, he denies it. And then by the time you get to the end of the issue, you get introduced to Superman. But which Superman is this? Is this Clark Kent? Is this Eradicator Superman? Like, which Superman is this? So I found this Superman very interesting. Now, even though we get introduced to another player in this series, which the series keeps overloading its characters, it still had at least a solid middle ground story here to get readers interested in something. Because the story, now that the whole Firestorm part is over, there needs to be something else now, and now it's got Frankenstein going. How these characters all connect, I'm not sure yet, but hopefully soon we'll figure it all out and things start tying together. But after reading this particular issue, I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I thought it was improvement from the last issues. All right, so moving on, we go on to number 9. And number 9 was the Amazing Spider-Man learning to crawl. This was just about average, over a little bit average for me. I'm not a huge fan of this Clash character. I think that's the name, Clash. And you find his infatuation with Spider-Man continues. He creates his powers based off of sounds, and he wants to do this battle with Spider-Man, but it's rigged, and he wants to pay Spider-Man to do this. By the time, though, we get to the end of the issue, we see that Peter is just in it for the money. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. He finds that Clash is going a little bit heavier than expected and kind of hurts Spider-Man. So Spider-Man just ties him up and, says, "Yep, see you later." And by the time we get to the very end of this issue, we realize now that Clash is no longer a fan of Spider-Man, and he's going to want to get revenge on him. And then you get to see this cliffhanger with Aunt May. You see good character dialogue between Flash Thompson, guidance counselor, principal, and Peter Parker. You gotta like the artwork that's in this particular issue. Reminds you of the old days of Peter Parker from the Amazing Spider-Man. I love these panels and this artwork here. But the story wasn't fantastic, but it was okay, and I'm gonna give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right, so we're gonna go on to number 8. I think we are, and I just want to make sure. Yep, number 8. And number 8 is a new comic that was released by Dynamite Comics. And this was written by Troy Brownfield. And he does a lot of work for Cinescope Entertainment. In this book, it's called Blood Queen, issue number 1, as you can see here. If you flip the cover over. Oh, it's going to flip it, isn't it? Oh, yeah. So you flip it over, and that's what you get. You get the other one. This was an interesting story written by Mr. Brownfield. I thought it was very interesting. You get a particular woman in here that is a healer, and a knight was sent on a quest from the king and queen to get this particular healer, which is the female lead in this actual book. I think her name was Elizabeth. And yes, and this is her right here once the camera focuses in. And she was sent to heal this baby. It was very ill, and the mother and the queen and the king felt that their daughter was going to die. So you get to see the healer do its magic here. Now, she's very, I want to say, what's the word that I'm looking for? It looks like she's after the knight, She tries to get intimate with the knight. She tries to get intimate with the knights advisor. So she looks like she's trying to get in with the king or the queen somehow. So as I was saying, tries to get intimate with the king's advisor. But all in that meantime, she is sent to actually heal the baby. And we get to see her, inspect the baby, look at the child, learn what the child is and the name, and you actually get to see her heal the baby, but she does it in a very odd way. She slits her wrist, and the blood from her wrist winds up going into the baby's mouth. And magically, the baby winds up healing. The fever is broken, and the baby has recovered. Now, what happens going forward with this series is very intriguing, and I'm going to check out the next issue because I want to see how this particular character, the main character, maybe possibly takes the kingdom over, or the baby winds up becoming the next Blood Queen, or whatever the tie-in is between the two characters. So after reading this book, I could give it a 3 out of 5. It surprised me. I thought it was really interesting. All right, so going forward, we're going to go on to number 7. And number 7 this week was The Walking Dead, issue number 128. Now, new direction for The Walking Dead 2 years into its future. Since we last left off in the series, we got to see that the town has recovered from the war. Negan's in prison. We get to see a new group being introduced to Alexandria and Rick and Andrea, taking them all in. And in this particular issue, not much has happened, but you get to see the real relationship between Negan and Carl in this issue. Okay, and their relationship isn't really as close as Negan likes it to be, and Negan is really upset about that. But in this issue, we get to see improvements that's going on within Alexandria. You get to see Eugene. He's making bread. They trade bread and bullets between other communities. Nice issue here. Great dialogue between Andrea and the new character Magus. They get to talk with each other, and you get to see them trying to trust one another. And so there's great character moments there. You get to see Carl, almost being a kid again. He makes his own sculptures out of wood. He tries to sell them, and he wants a job. And, you get to see Rick kind of let up a little bit, and he gives Carl a job. Now, we don't know exactly what that job is yet, but you'll find out in the future. A little bit of action in this particular series. You get to see some zombies in here, a bunch of characters being attacked. And by the time you get to the end of this particular issue, we get to see that the new group doesn't really trust Rick and the group. They feel that when something, it says, when something seems too good to be true, it usually is. And I don't know, I have this bad feeling between this new group that there might be a chance that they find Negan, release Negan, and they're going to try to wreak havoc within Alexandria's walls. So we'll see what happens, but it was a fun issue, good issue. Maybe not the best issue I've read from The Walking Dead, but it was a solid read, and I give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right, so going on, we're going to go on to number 6. And number 6 this week was Superman Wonder Woman, issue number 9. Written by Charles Soule, artwork done by Tony S. Daniel. Definitely was the cover of the week for me. How you have Supergirl and Wonder Woman in here, dressed in their 50s styles, clothing, very classy. Really enjoyed the cover here. This story, when it seems like Charles Soule is the only one that can write this Doom story really well. We get to see Clark battle within himself with Doomsday. He was infected by the kryptonite. Doomsday has taken over. The artwork in this issue is phenomenal. Really brings out the anger and the battle within that Superman is having with Doomsday. And he really displays that very, very well in this particular issue, and I really enjoyed it. Again, the artwork is just so good in here. and we have Diana or Wonder Woman go with who is it? Hessa? Yeah, Hessa, to try to heal Superman. And she gets all in her armor and gets ready to do battle, or not battle, but try to heal Superman. But when she finds out that he needs to be stopped, she starts battling Superman, but gets her ass kicked by Doomsday. I mean, literally destroyed. Phenomenal facial expressions, artwork in this issue. Again, I can't express it enough in here. But what happens is Wonder Woman interferes with the battle, winds up taking Superman above the earth out of the kryptonite, and Superman winds up healing himself because he's not weakened by the kryptonite, and has to leave Earth. And let's just say that the Red Lanterns get involved here and piss off Superman to where he becomes Doomsday again. Really, really great issue here. I thought it was a fun read. If there's anybody that can write this series and draw it together, it's Charles Soule and Tony S. Daniel that really add a new level to the Doomed series. So after reading this one, I gave this one a 4 out of 5. All right, so moving forward, we go on to top 5. And number 5 was Avengers Undercover, issue number 5. That's right, 5. In this issue, you get to see the struggle between our Avenger Undercover heroes, which is Cammy, Bloodstone, Death, Locket, Nico, Chase, and Hazmat, make a decision on if they want to stay with Zemo. Right there. He gives them an ultimatum. Leave or stay. He's like, you can either go to prison, because that's why S.H.I.E.L.D., captured you because you destroyed Arcade, or you can stay with us. And the whole issue, you get to see discussions amongst the team members on what they want to do. I think Dennis Hopeless writes these characters really well. He's done it on Avengers Arena. And you get to see the struggle and how the heroes try to get convinced by Madame Mask and some of the other characters in the issue, or the other villains. And they come up with this plan in the issue of, well, maybe we should take down Zemo's empire and become heroes again. And then they won't throw us in jail because the good will override the bad. So they come up with this plan to join Zemo and to take over his empire. So that's what they decide to do. At least that's what you think they do, because by the time you get to the end of the issue, you wind up seeing, is it Cammy? Yeah, Cammy winds up leaving, and she wants to go back to her mother. And she says, let the others play villain. She's like, I'm going to leave and stay, I'm going to leave and go to my mom or whatever it is. The others can play villain. And she winds up getting captured by Constrictor. So that's a huge cliffhanger here, because our heroes don't know that she's been captured. So how this all plays in or weighs in, I'm not sure yet. But really interesting book. I really enjoyed this particular one. I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5 as well. So moving on to number 4. And number 4 is Starlight, issue number, what are we at on this one? It's getting dark out, so I can't see. Starlight, issue number 4. This was an interesting issue because now you get to see Duke McQueen get captured. And he gets captured, and he's with the guy that relives all the old school 50s, 60s era of, TV. And it takes forever for that culture to get to this galaxy or whatnot. So you get to see great interactions between the villain and Duke McQueen in the issue, and how they were captured. They escape. They get these jetpacks, and they wind up escaping, and they escape with the 50s man, and they wind up flying away, and they're being tracked down, and there was lots of action in this issue. And they wind up going to this other end of the planet with this secret portal. I love this particular series because it has that Flash Gordon or fantasy type of feel to it. Great artwork here. You get to see a rebel alliance going against this empire. And again, remind you Flash Gordon, Star Wars in a way, and you see Duke McQueen teaming up with these particular rebels. But at the end of this issue, you are introduced to a traitor along with these rebels, and I didn't see it coming, but it was this 50s guy, and he's working for the bad guys, and he blows the good guys cover of where they're staying, and now you're going to see that Duke McQueen and the rebels are in one hell of a situation. So this was a fun read, really enjoyed it, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars as well. All right, so going on to top three, number three, and that was Zenescope's Robin Hood Legend, issue number 4. Yeah, that's right, guys. This issue was pretty cool. This is the second to last issue for this miniseries. But if you are a Robin Hood fan, never fear, everybody. This series is getting an ongoing for Zenescope Entertainment. This book is written by Patrick Shan, and the art is done by Larry Watts. Artwork is solid in the issue. Really enjoyed the coloring in here. Beginning of this book, you get to see some good character moments between Will Scarlet and Robin Loxley, which is also known as Robin Hood. Will Scarlet is the one that is dying in the particular issue from previous wounds, but keeps being re-healed by magic. And Marianne winds up healing Will Scarlet, and we're thinking that he's going to survive, right? No, wrong. And I'll show you. So, so what happens is we see our heroes going to have to infiltrate Sheriff Nottingham's castle in the issue. And we find out that they do, and a battle starts between the sheriff and the other heroes. And we can see that the sheriff is very strong, very powerful, very magical, but our heroes wind up getting the upper hand, but it's not without a cost. The sheriff of Nottingham, which is his name is also Cal, winds up discovering Will Scarlet's weakness and winds up killing him in the process. However, Robin does succeed in destroying Cal as well, and basically that's how the issue ends. We don't know where the issue is going from here, what the next journey is, how it's starting. It might be introduced to the new series of Robin Hood, but it was very sad to see Will Scarlet here die, because you feel Robin's pain in here. Everything she's ever had in her life, she has lost. That's what's made her such a tough character. This is a very interesting series. It's very good. It's very well written. This is the third volume to it. If comic fans, if you guys have not read Robin Hood series, check out the first volume in trade. You can probably get it for $10. They have the second one, and this is the third one, and I'm sure it'll be released in trade as well. After reading this book, I enjoyed it as well. I gave this one a 4 out of 5, and I can't wait to see this next adventure that is promised in the climactic issue number 5 of this series. So again, 4 out of 5 for me. So next, we go on to our number 2 comic book of the week, and number 2 is Manifest Destiny issue number 7. That's right, everyone. I love this series. This was really close to getting pick of the week. It took me about 5 minutes to decide, going back and forth, what decision I wanted to be number 1 comic. But this was a solid issue. Introducing this second story arc here to this series. We are on issue number 7, and this stays true to cover here. Giant frogs and a crazy big-ass octopus. And I love the fantasy that this story brings to the Lewis and Clark era. The book does a great introduction, a reintroduction of certain characters and some new characters that happened in the last destination that they were. I love the huge, over-exaggerative creatures that are in this particular issue, like this big ladybug that's here. I love all the big fish and creatures that they capture. The coloring is well done in this series too. It brings you to that era, to that 1800s era, with all the, you know, if this was a movie, they would get best award for character or for clothing design or whatnot. So really interesting stuff here. Again, you get to see this reintroduction to all these characters in the series as well. And what happens is one of the main female characters finds out uh, Lewis and Clark's mission here, and her name is Madam. I'm trying to see what it is called again one more time. Her name was Madam Boniface, and she finds out, what these two are really doing here and why all these crew members are here. And at first they were thinking about possibly killing her, but they said with under strict surveillance, they're going to keep her alive. They feel that she's an asset to the crew because she can study things. And as the issue progresses, we see that they're, on their boat, going to their next destination, trying to discover new things. And their boat gets stuck. And the boat gets stuck. And they're going to discover and go underwater, see what it's stuck on. Now, in this particular series, whenever you see this crazy arch, there is danger around. And Clark, I think it's Clark or Lewis, winds up seeing that arch, and he's like, I've seen this before. And he's warning the crew and everybody to get out of the water. He's like, get out, get out. He's like, move, it's the arch, damn it. And the next thing you see is the boat starts to tip over, and this big, ugly, nasty creature comes up above the boat, and it looks like this, and you're like, oh, that's a nasty looking toad. And this book always leaves you with these great cliffhangers and how our crew is going to get out from these crazy like creatures and how they're going to survive, because they don't have superpowers. They're mere mortals going against these crazy, exaggerative looking creatures. I'm so excited to read the next issue of this, and this was really close to being pick of the week, but I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Suggest it, guys. The first trade is out on this. Think you can get it for $10. Highly recommend it. All right, so the number 1 comic book of the week goes to Zenescope's Warlord of Oz, issue number 2. This was written by Jeff Massey and drawn by Miguel Mendoca. I thought this issue was very well done. This puts a really awesome spin on Oz. I think it's very well done. You get to see Glinda, who was the good witch, pass away in this issue. She sacrifices herself to get Dorothy back into this world. We get to see the warlord of this warlord trying to take over Oz. This is the new danger that's involved. You get introduced to I guess what is the Tin Man in this series, and her girlfriend, which her name is Thorn. Now, the Tin Man in this particular issue is a man that is cursed, and you see him in the reflection, and you see him as human here. And they need the warlord, who is the evil creature, to turn him back into a human. This had a great spin on the Oz that we all know. I definitely highly suggest this series to everybody. If you've read The Wizard of Oz, you're gonna like this spin. You're gonna like the way Dorothy is. You're gonna like the way Toto is, and it's a great read and definitely different from something that you've ever read before. And I thought that this deserved pick of the week just for the sure fact that it's something different, it's something fresh. Zenescope's been pushing the envelope, pushing better stories, and I really enjoyed it. So I suggest this to everybody, and for me, this gets 5 out of 5. So guys, there is your countdown for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I want to thank Nick Lenz for that pick of the thumbnail pick of the week. And guys, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, fans. Take care. Bye.